ちょっとすいません、失敗しました。もう一回やります。Hello everyone, I'm Atsushi, the organizer of the DevRelCon Yokohama 2023. It will be held in Yokohama on March 10th and 11th, 2023. In this interview session, we will talk with Suzuki-san, the keynote speaker of the 11th, about what you can expect to hear from them regarding the session. Please reference it when you attend the conference. So let's call Suzuki-san, please.
Hello, nice to meet
Hi,
you.
Suzuki-san, welcome. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, I know it's pretty cold in Tokyo right now, but I'm feeling very well. Thank you.
Okay, so let's start the interview session. So please, at first, could you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Takuo Suzuki. I'm a developer relations program manager based in Tokyo office. I'm developer relations program manager at Google, Google Japan, based in Tokyo. I look over all the developer relations activities in Japan, and I also manage a team across East Asia, which include Korea and Australia and New Zealand. Our team covers not just developer communities program, but also we cover startup programs in this region. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think you have great experiences about developer relations. So how long did you depend on developer relations at Google?
So I've been working at Google for almost well, we I just sorry. I've been working at Google for 9 years as developer relations program manager. But before joining Google, I was responsible for several like API related activities in a previous company as well. So I would say 15 years plus experience of working at the DevRel industries.
I see. So, and Google has various of technologies like clouds, AIs, or like Flutter or anything about. So, what is your popular technologies?
So I think it depends on the what developer would like to learn. So when I joined Google like 2013 and 14, lots of developer wants to learn about mobile. So Android was our focus. And then around 2015-16, and still AI ML has been very popular technologies among developers, and we get lots of requests from developers that they would love to learn more about AI ML solutions. So we do the workshop, like training for AI ML. I mean, the developer who love to learn about AI ML solutions. Recently, we've been focusing on cloud as well, because we've seen lots of developers who love to learn about how cloud technologies can help developers. And of course, in Japan, like we have very strong, we have several OS platform in mobile areas. So Flutter has been very popular platform or framework among these mobile developers. So we've been also helping to educate developers learning about the Flutter as well.
I see. And I think Google provides various technology is very newest technologies. How to catch up them in
That's a
your
great
work?
question. So we call ourselves zero's customer, like number zero. So before we publish any like training materials, we train ourselves before. So we feel comfortable about the new APIs we release or new code labs we release or new technical contents we publish globally. So we call ourselves sales customers and we do the feedback before we publish globally. So that's how we kind of train ourselves about the latest technologies.
I see. And I think Google has some developer advocates in Japan. So
Yep.
how to communicate with them?
So developer advocates are more expert in specific products. So like Android developer advocates, they're focused on Android. So I usually see myself as like I'm a person who create the stage for the show, and the developer advocates are the people who are giving a session on the stage. So I build like like stage, and like I invite like who is the right person. I build agenda, and I also invite okay, who is the right person for this kind of sessions. So I'm more like a producer of the show, and where developer advocates are more like talent or people who are on the stage talks about our technologies and train developers. So that's how we kind of operate.
I see. So, okay, so we will move to the next topic about your sessions. So, um, this conference has 2 days, so each
Mhm.
with different theme. Day one is a marketing and business days, and day two is developer and community days. And Suzuki-san, you were the keynote speaker of the day two.
Okay.
So, in this month, I joined to the DevRelCon Praha 2022. So I met your coworkers. She worked at the Google in Korea. So
Nice.
she know you, and maybe she communicate with you a lot. So and you said that you were account of charge in East Asia, right?
Hmm.
So, what do you think about Japan and East Asia developer communities? What is different? Or what is uh, popular in Japanese developer market?
Thank you. Thank you. Basically, what I see the difference between Japan and other countries are, or Japan, Korea, and other countries are language barriers. So many of the developers who would like to learn about new technologies have some language barriers to learn about new technologies because most of the contents are published in English. So we see lots of developers are contributing to open source technologies to localize some of the libraries and also localize the documentations. That's a unique thing we see, which we don't see in Eastern, Western countries, like let's say Europe or US. Or I also cover Australia, but this kind of activities we never seen in these countries. That's definitely like one unique aspect of um, developers, behavior in Japan and Korea.
I see. So, how to explain about translation is important to Americans, like Europeans. How to explain about that?
So, thanks to developers in Japan, Korea, thankfully, the impact they're driving, let's say like revenue, for example, the Android apps, the revenue Japan developers and Korean developers are driving are significant, right? So I think it's quite easy for me to justify like Japanese language is important for local market because if you see the size of the revenue we're driving through Google Play, it's quite inevitable to not to translate to Japanese. So great, thanks to like all the developers in Japan, the apps they're building are amazing. So they're driving lots of impact, not just revenue, but also number of users as well. So that actually helps a lot. And also the second thing is we kind of show the gap between some of the localized contents versus non-localized contents. And if there's more, one of the reasons why Google is publicly sharing the API that we want more developers to use it, right? So we would love to see if we want to show the data that's if one content is localized versus the other is not. We kind of show like the result, and the one content which has been localized is more showing the attraction. Then it actually gives me easier to convince the team in US to invest more for the localization.
I see. So, and I have no ideas about the Korean developer market. So, but we have to understand each other's we are very cross countries. So, what do you have any ideas how to communicate each other well, like Japan and Korea or China, someone? Yeah.
So I would say there are many developers whose first language is not English. Let's say Korean developers and Japanese developers, they communicate, but they know English is not their first language. So it's quite similar with like when do we do like code reviews. Like we use the language which easier for people to understand. We
Mm-hmm.
not use the very specific words which is only used in certain countries. We kind of try
Mm-hmm.
to make sure like we're speaking in the language English so they can understand, right? Not because I want to
Mm-hmm.
speak in good English. We
Mm-hmm.
speak in English so that we can communicate. I think that's very
Mm-hmm.
important. That's same as like if you want to leave some comments on your repository, you
Mm-hmm.
don't write down like very like poetic
Yeah.
English, right? You write it's very specific, like why you want to make this change and why you
Mm-hmm.
suggest these change in very short and simple, but like very communicatable English.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we. I think that's very key when we communicate with people whose first language is not English.
I see. Okay. So our conference attendees, maybe half of people are English is not first language, maybe they are second language. So maybe we can communicate each other as well if we speak English, even if it's a little, I think.
Yes, and also for the conferences when I do conferences talk in non-English speaking countries, I try to use many text in my slides, Google Slides.
Mm.
So when
Oh.
someone can see my slides, they
Mm,
understand by reading what I would
mm,
like to say. No,
mm,
I avoid not to show just one image and talks
mm, mm,
because then people need to understand this, diagram and also listening
mm,
is quite tricky. So I try to put as many text as
mhm,
possible in the slide,
mm,
and that's something when you communicate with someone who doesn't speak English or whose whose first language is not English. I think these like communication techniques could be
mm.
useful. How
I
I do it.
see. I see. It's very useful technique. Thank you. Okay, so our interview session is end up. So Suzuki-san, you will have great experiences in about developer relations in East Asia developer markets. So I and every attendees cannot wait the conference and hear your sessions. Thank you so much for today's interviews, and I hope you will also enjoy our conference.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in person at Yokohama on May sorry March 11th.
Yes,
Thank you very much for inviting me. Thank you.
thank you. So, okay, everyone's. How about the interview? So, I announce again our conference, DevRelCon Yokohama 2023, will be held on the March 10th and 11th, 2023 at Yokohama. Tickets are on sale, and our CFP will be closed the end of this December. Don't miss it. Okay, so see you next interview. Bye.